Well, a warm welcome from me. My name is Benjamin Friedländer, and what my co-author Christina Schaefer and I intend to do with the following short presentation is to give you a brief insight into the role of public economy, innovation and digital transformation of structurally weak rural regions in Germany. Well, for decades, rural areas have rapidly been the subject of scientific and socio-political discussions in Germany. Crises such as the demographic change, change in the economic structure, austerity in many rural municipalities make it difficult to provide infrastructure facilities and local public services. And these difficulties became particularly apparent during the corona pandemic. It is true that the sparse population of rural areas proved to be a locational advantage during this time, and digital infrastructure and access to powerful internet turned out to be central, which is, however, not yet a matter, of course, in Germany, especially in these rural areas. The phenomenon discussed under the keywords digital divide or urban-rural divide is of particular relevance in Germany, as almost 3/4 of all districts can be classified as rural regions or regions with slight urbanization in which more than half of the population lives. On the other side, to take a look at the scholarly literature, it is argued that public enterprises, and especially local public enterprises, LPEs, are important promoters of innovation and digital transformation in public services. And for rural regions, that is what we can say in Germany, there has been a lack of sufficient conceptual and empirical analysis so far. Against this background, this exploratory study aims to answer the following questions on the basis of literature research, document analysis, and a case study on municipally owned housing companies. Before we go into the deep, some theoretical remarks on the enabling and ensuring state to understand recent and future directions or trends in the delivery of public services in structurally weak rural regions in Germany. So the provision of a broad range of public services has increasingly been transferred to organizations outside the local core administration, and innovative service delivery is characterized as a process of cooperation and co-creation between different stakeholders. And within this organizational vocabulary, LPEs are one of these stakeholders with, as you all know, unique characteristics, so public ownership, public mission, public control, but also autonomy and flexibility. Looking at the past, the interpretation of the role of LPEs on Germany's rural areas was already addressed intensively in the 1960s, 1970s, and 1980s. In German-speaking countries, the academic discussion and the political understanding of public and social economic enterprises found its roots on the conception of the Gemeinwirtschaft and the conception of the common in social economics. Looking at the numbers, public economy organizations still have an essential function for these regions. They are regarded as important employers that generally play an active and important role in the structural and labor market policy. And over the last 20 years, many local authorities have demonstrated a renewed interest to republicize or to remunicipalize service delivery. Although no general trend towards remunicipalization can be observed, several studies indicate a strong dynamic in the field of energy supply and multi-utilities. So in the last years, a great number of energy utilities have been founded, and most of them in smaller municipalities or shrinking rural regions. All in all, LPEs are important anchors for the provision of basic but also innovative technical and social infrastructure. These corporations became forerunners for the digitalization and sustainability in shrinking rural regions. When we take a closer look at the case of municipally owned housing companies, we can say that these companies contribute to spatial cohesion and social equity in these regions as they react to outmigration in peripheral regions and population influx in conurbations, often at the same time. And these housing companies act as important partners for local authorities in the joint provision of housing for refugees as public ownership facilitate or impede access to housing. So this is why these actors are also important promoters of social innovation. They make a great effort to facilitate co-creation and innovative collaboration, and they try to coordinate local service networks in these areas, and they also cooperate with other state and non-state stakeholders, especially in the field of energy transition and digital transformation. Well, to keep time, I would like to come to the conclusion. Well, the innovative organization of public services in rural areas is a complex challenge. Of course it is, and understood not only as a technical challenge, but also as an economic, political, administrative, social, and cultural challenge. And even if the contributions of LPEs described above are no more than examples, these examples show that LPEs make an important contribution to the innovative and also sustainable production of public goods in structurally weak rural regions in Germany. However, it is to be expected that public companies and their public owners in these regions will also be subject to constant pressure to adapt, whether in terms of their future potential for innovation and digitalization, changing expectations of citizens and policymakers, or even efficiency gains. And last but not least, of course, this field is in need of further empirical research, especially regarding the design motives, conditions, and effects of the role of public economy organizations in innovation and digital transformation of structurally weak rural regions in Germany. So thank you very much for your attention.